business and achieving financial freedom is always a struggle for most of the migrants. My today's guest has done it, and she is guiding a lot of other migrants and even Australians to how to get financial freedom. Basically, let's understand what is financial freedom and how to achieve it. With her 20 plus of years of experience, she can guide anyone and for free to how to achieve financial freedom in Australia. I am Krunal Nayak, your podcast host for My Australian Journey with Teeshal. She works in a Melbourne Metro as a project manager, as well as she runs an organization. It's called Grit Leadership, where she guides all the leaders using the virtual reality and guiding others like you and me to become financially free. So please welcome Mrs. Teeshal. Okay, so with this fantastic introduction, I would like to welcome Teeshal. Okay, hello Teeshal, how are you?
Hi, Krunal. Thank you for having me here on today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining, and thank you for spending your precious time with us. And this is something amazing. I just inform my audience that this podcast is going to be really value confirming that they can take some values out of this. And so, please, before we start our podcast, I want to introduce yourself from your own. I've already made an introduction, but still, I want you to introduce yourself to our audience. That who you are and what you do in your own words. Could you please?
Yeah. No, thank you very much, Krunal. So my name's Teeshal. I migrated from Malaysia 23 years ago with my family through business migration. I've come as I guess I started off my career as an engineer. That's my background. I think speaking to coming from Southeast Asian sort of background, you almost get three choices when you start your education. It's engineer, doctor, lawyer, pick one. And that's how I kind of started my engineering sort of pathway or career. And but besides being an engineer, this is right now today I'm actually a program manager in the rail industry. I have run multiple startup businesses. I actually support a not-for-profit called Grit Leadership. I'm a mother of two, and I also help selected individuals attain financial independence. So that's a little bit about me in a nutshell, if you like, Krunal.
That's great. That's great. Thank you, Tishal. Thanks for a brief introduction. And you have mentioned that you've been in Australia for 23 years. So let me ask you something about your journey in Australia. So let's say when you migrated as a what? So you came here to study, or what was your intention to come to Australia?
So my parents moved here with the family. So at the time I was 20 years of age, and I was actually studying in a local university in Malaysia, and it's actually a Muslim university. So when we came across to Australia, I had to transfer my credits, going from a medium of Malay and not English, into a university that the entire medium was in English. And that's kind of how the journey started, is finishing education here.
Right. So you studied in Australia as well, or you just got credits and you started working?
No, I transferred my credits and finished my bachelor's degree here at Clinton University in Perth.
Right. So you arrived in Perth, right?
Correct.
All right. And currently, are you in Perth as well, or you moved somewhere else?
No, Krunal. So we was in Perth for about 17 years, and then for the last 7 years we've actually been in Melbourne.
Melbourne. Okay. And why Melbourne? Can I ask that?
Good question. Have you ever been to Perth before, Krunal?
Yes, yes, yes. I love it.
Oh, do you? Okay, that's great. There's very few people who actually say that. It's they say the 1 in 3 people that you actually meet in Perth are probably 65 and above. And they say that's kind of where people go and retire and have a very slow pace sort of lifestyle. And I didn't
Right.
really know too much of that until we moved across to Melbourne. So my husband and I were both engineers, and we were both in mining when we were in Western Australia. And mining took a pretty big hit in 2016. There were a lot more opportunities here in Melbourne, and that sort of inspired the move to come across.
All right. Great. And so, what is your core work you do at this point? So, let's say 9 to 5 or full-time work you do, or you just do in the entrepreneurship?
Yeah. Okay. Great question. I wish I could just give you a simple answer, but it's not a simple
That's okay.
answer.
We have a lot of time. We can discuss everything. No problem.
um,
Let's get started.
do you know it's really interesting, right? Like when people sort of say, what is it that you do for work, and people think it's your role that actually defines who you are as a person. At the end of
Yeah.
the day, you need to get your bills paid, so you need to get in do some form of work. And I guess if you like to call it
Yeah.
from a 9 to 5 sort of perspective, yeah, it's a program manager within the rail industry. So I work
Mhm.
for Metro Trains. But I guess what and I love the job that I actually do. I think in the 7 years that I've actually been with Metro Trains, I've had 5 different roles. I've
Wow.
progressed pretty quickly. Not
Great.
because I'm great, but because I actually had a really good sort of support system around me, and it was an organization that saw me for what I was worth, and gave me those opportunities, which I'm really grateful
Mhm.
for. But there's more to us than our roles in our job per
Okay.
se. And you got to almost kind of think about, you've got one life, you got to make it count. What is it that actually brings you joy? And for me, it's entrepreneurship. I
Oh,
absolutely
wow.
love the idea of creating something from nothing. And adding value with my own sort of blood, sweat, and tears, if you like. So currently,
Yeah.
I run a not for profit called Grit Leadership. We started this
Mhm.
3 years ago with the aim of helping with gender diversity, equity, and inclusion within corporates. So we
Mhm.
deliver leadership training and coaching in organizations, but we use virtual reality and gamification as a way to help leaders walk a mile in somebody else's shoe.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
so if I could give you an example, it's a bit like,
Yes, that's what I'm about to ask you. Like, give me an example how you train a leaders. When so my question is just that. So leaders are mainly they are in a sense that they are leaders. They are running something. They have some sort of great qualities that they became leader. So when you're training a leader, how you do it?
not all leaders are inclusive leaders. I think there is a big
Wow.
difference between the word manager and leader. I think not all
Hmm.
great managers make great leaders. Managers are great
Right.
because they can manage a task, manage the outcome of a project that they're working on. But leadership is when you could even lead without having a title. You could actually lead without actually having any followers or people to actually, they have to take directions from you specifically. In a lot of organizations, I mean, today we live in Australia, very multicultural, which is great. There's a lot of focus on creating a diverse sort of work environment, but is it inclusive? Is it inclusive is the question, right? So if you walk into an environment, like, do you feel like you belong? Do you feel that your contribution is being valued by people around you? Can you communicate in a way that people accept? And I think it's not a straightforward answer to actually create an inclusive work environment. And I think creating psychological safety within organizations where people feel safe to speak up, uh, safe to actually share their ideas, and know that it's actually going to be valued or heard by people around them is actually really key in determining a highly performing sort of team. So with grit leadership, what we aim to do is give people immersive experiences. So we get our leaders to actually put headsets on, and you're actually walking into a scenario where you could be experiencing some form of discrimination. It could be age, could be gender, could be sexual orientation, could be disability, could be race, could be literally anything. How do people respond in that sort of scenario? So, I mean, VR doesn't solve those problems, but it actually helps you give you awareness. And because we all have biases, and it's actually just to bring to light that these biases do exist. And having those VR sort of experiences give people the opportunity to sort of go from heart to head to actually go, oh my God, that doesn't feel right. It doesn't sit right with me. How can people do such things? And then hopefully it goes from heart to head, and then people will have more conscious awareness when they actually make decisions, because it actually has a huge impact. So our training is very focused around using technology to create immersive experience. And all of our profits are channeled into building programs for young girls in schools.
Virtual reality means that the VR headsets and all that, or
Correct, correct. So all our leaders actually use virtual that yeah they use headsets to actually have those immersive experience. We also play board games because who wants to attend a training program where you've got PowerPoints on the slide sort of
Like
telling
this.
you what to do?
Sitting like this.
Exactly,
It's
exactly,
boring,
right?
right? Yes,
It is very
exactly.
boring. Like so you want to be able to sort of tug those feelings in your heart to actually go, wow, that's a little bit different. Oh my God, I'm having a bit of an aha moment now. And like, shake them up a little bit so that they think about what they're actually doing. And I believe our programs actually do that. But I think what's more exciting for me is where the funds actually go. We talk so much about creating more opportunities for women in workplaces, but it starts with our girls at schools. STEM careers to get into engineering is not something that someone decides at 17 that that's what they want to pursue. It starts from way back when they're 8, 9, 10, 11. So our aim is to actually run programs at schools to actually give an appreciation of what else could actually be out there, and for them to actually have role models of other women that have actually followed a similar pathway, to give them choice.
Amazing. So, when you run these leadership programs, so in your opinion, what qualities are required in a good leader?
Wow, that's a really really good question. I'm a big fan of John Maxwell. He writes amazing leadership books around, the 5 levels of leadership. How do you develop teams? Value conversation. I think ultimately, we like to think we're really technical people, like with all the different studies that we do. But no matter what industry we're in the people industry. Until the robots start to take over our world and we don't need people anymore, which I don't think is actually a possibility. Until then, we deal with people. So I think what actually makes a good leader is someone that can actually connect with other people, um, and and it's connecting for connection, like it's connecting to actually build deep and meaningful relationships with people. Connecting isn't just saying, hi, I'm so and so, nice to meet you, what do you do? I do this. Okay, great. Like, here's my business card, if you ever want this service, to use my services. It doesn't work like that. Uh, and I think building that trusting sort of relationship, whether you actually run your own business or whether you're in a career, I think is super, super important. I don't think you have a choice. Like, if you don't actually grow your skill set as a good and strong communicator, it's very challenging for you to actually move forward.
Uh, yes, and that gave me another sub question. So, when you say the connection, so what is the component you need to get connected with other people? So, let's say if I'm trying to connect with my clients, I'm trying to connect with other people, like my podcast host, what is the element that we seek for the best connection between two people?
Yeah,
Whether it's
it's
corporate or friendship or anything.
I think it's the same principle applies no matter what the setting is. And I think you got to find common ground before you move up to higher ground, if I could say that. So if you don't find common ground with someone, how do you take the conversation to higher ground? Like, how do you talk about different things if you can't even find that relatability aspect? So I think finding things in common is extremely important to actually build rapport, and we are all so much more alike than we think we are. Sometimes people feel I can only connect with someone who's come from the same country as I have or speaks the same language as I do, and you feel a deeper connection. But it's because that's all we see physically. But if you take the time to ask a few more questions, a bit like what you're doing today, Krunal, and seek to understand where people actually come from, you'll realize there's actually like this onion that you can peel layers to and find like things in common with someone. And when you find those things in common, that actually deepens the relationship. And when you deepen the relationship, you actually build trust. And once you actually build trust with someone, it makes it so much easier to talk about anything and everything, really.
Right. So the trust, that's what I was going, narrowing down the funnel to trust. So the connection, the what we say is making connection is all depends on the trust. So how you trust the other person. So winning the other person's trust is the key here, right? So if if someone wants to have few things that you can say about winning the trust, so how winning the trust is the same thing you just explained to make a connection, or those two are different things? Making connection and winning the trust, is it same or it's different?
I think it's different because it comes down to your intention. Sometimes people in the back of their mind choose to connect with someone because they actually have an ulterior motive in their mind. They say, okay, I'm connecting with this person because I want to promote my business. I'm connecting with this person because I want them to buy something from me. And when we come from a mindset whereby we're focused on what is it that we want out of that person, um, unfortunately, other people can see it through and through. Like you don't even have to say very much, and they can already feel the vibe that this person's talking to me because they want me to do something, sell something, buy something, or do you know. And I just don't think it's genuine. So when we talk about building trust, it comes from a place of actually having authenticity when you're actually having the conversation with someone. Like when you have a conversation with someone, it's literally to get to know people for who they are. And how do you do that if you actually have an ulterior motive in the back of your mind, thinking, I actually only want to talk to this person because of, a certain reason? That's not really getting to know the person for who they really are.
You're absolutely right. Yes. I just shared my recent experience in Malaysia. I'm an education agent as well. We went there, and yes, everybody was trying to distribute their business cards and making connections. And I said I don't carry my business cards, at all. I no never I never handed. I asked if the person asked me like, "Where's the business card?" and I just give my contact number. That's it. That's my business card. So that's where I'm coming from, and I made great friends. Like we made a group of 5 people, and with no intention for business, no intention for anything else. It's just a trust and a friendship. So I found out of these 500 people, I found 5 people who are maybe younger, same age, and maybe most of them are younger than me. But I found some sort of collaboration in them, and yes, and that will bring business. I'm sure that will bring business. But yes, making connection, the heart-to-heart connection, that's the key here. Am I? Please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think 100%. I think we're both speaking the same language, Krunal. I think based on what you're sharing there with your own sort of experience, I don't think there is any other way. And I think if you do it any other way, I don't think it's actually it's a long term sort of solution. Like it's quite short lived. I think when people have ulterior sort of motives, because yeah, it comes out really quite clear. And like it's almost like we're these detectors, right? Like we've got these antennas on the top of our head, and then when people speak to us, we can detect when people are actually not actually being truthful, or if they actually have a hidden agenda that they want to put across.
I think at certain until certain age you don't have those antennas up, but after certain age and certain experiences, you instantly got that antenna, and it tells you that okay, this person is business person, this is heart to heart connection. Yes, you're
Mm.
absolutely right. So moving forward, I have a question about your great leadership. So when you are building, so okay, yeah, I understand it's a non-profit organization and it helps people, leaders actually, to make their journey better. So my question is, what is your challenges in doing that great leadership uh, organization running?
Yeah, another great question. When I started up Great Leadership 3 years ago, I had no idea how I was going to do it. All I knew was because I had a full time job. I know I wanted to create a legacy piece and make an impact on the future generation of girls and women, but I didn't know how I was going to do it. And the time I decided to launch the business, it was COVID. So I was like, what a great time to actually launch a business, right? But I came across a really interesting concept called the human library. Have you heard of that before, Pranav? Okay. So the human library is about, instead of borrowing a book from a library, borrow a person for 15 minutes and share their ideas. So I thought, oh wow, what an amazing concept. So I was actually a bit on a mission. I was at home, working from home, and had a bit more time at the time. And I was just connecting with random strangers on LinkedIn to actually learn a little bit more about them. And over a course of 2 years, I must have connected with 250 plus people. So I would actually have a bit of a mission to go, you know what, I'm going to connect with three random strangers this week and have a bit of a 15-minute coffee catch up over Zoom, and just get to learn a little bit about them. No real agenda apart from just sharing stories. Not everybody was very receptive to that, because the minute I actually asked for a coffee catch up, the first question would be, like, why do you want to talk to me? Like, do you want to sell me something? And so you get quite a few people sort of feeling that way, but the vast majority of people were quite happy to connect. And when I connected with these random strangers, if you like, is how doors got opened for me. So people that I connected with became the coaches and trainers that run the Grit Leadership Program for me today. Um, Mandy Dante, who actually runs Flourish Girl, which is where all of our funds go, our surplus funds and profits go to, where they run the programs at schools. I met her through LinkedIn as well. None of these collaborations would be possible if I didn't put myself out there to just connect with people, because you just didn't know where the conversation was going to go. But because our values aligned and we're like, oh wow, that sounds amazing, love what you stand for, we were open to actually giving it a go. And I think where it was quite funny as well, like 6 months ago, I had a business coach that was helping me refine my messaging for Grit Leadership. We wanted to do everything for everybody. And that's the thing, right? Like, it's amazing. I can do this, I can do that, I can do all these things. And she said, hang on, Teeshal, like, let's just calm down, like, bring this back to why you actually even started this. And we refined the program. And at the end of the 6 month business coaching that I had from her, she said, where to from here? And I said, do you want to work together? She said, oh my God, that sounds amazing. So today she lives in New South Wales. I'm here in Victoria, in Melbourne, and she's helping me develop group leadership in New South Wales. So amazing things can come from just having conversations with people and kind of just see where that goes. And so you talk about challenges. So the challenges initially was actually feeling like I was a one woman band, me trying to do everything on my own. And I just don't think you have to. I think if you partner with the right people who align with you in values, you can do so much more in a group sort of effort.
Right. And so, whatever the initial challenges, let's say you run this VR headsets training and all that. So, is that are you into it before that, or who
No.
gave you that idea for the VR training?
The conversations that I had. So in my mind, I thought I was going to run a program a certain way. You speak to someone and you hear their point of view and you go, okay, wow, this could actually add more value to people. Maybe we could do this. And that collaboration with other people who've got more expertise than you has added so much more value to our audience today and people that use our programs. So I think for me, it's always been seeking out for people who've got expertise in areas that I don't have expertise, and being okay to say I actually don't know the answer. And if you've got expertise, I'd like to actually learn from you. And having that openness to actually network with people, and being open to the unlearning aspect of it. Because I think a lot of times we come, and especially with age, right? Like if you're in your 20s, you feel like I can do anything, everything, who cares? I'll start it all on my own. But I think once you get into your 30s and your 40s, you're like, let's not waste any time anymore. I've done the test and trial and stuff. Like I want to take advice from people who've got results in certain areas and follow their footsteps. Like why create something from scratch when you can collaborate with others?
Right. See, when you bring the age factor in there, I got a question here. So let's say our generation, I would say our generation and these millennials, they are, and now we got to see this Gen Z. So all these three generations, millennials, us, and Gen Z, what the difference you feel like? So let's say my generation, I learned this technology and podcasting and using technology in my business after a certain age, while the millennials, I'm looking at the new migration agents or the lawyers, they are pretty much doing it in their 20s or late early 20s or late 30s, and late 20s, I would say, not late 30s, late 20s. And Gen Z, let's say my daughter, she is already start thinking to have her own YouTube channel. So what is the difference? Like you see, are you on the same page what I'm seeing, or because you work with more people, in this fraternity? So tell me about the entrepreneurship and all that. So how is the generation gap works here?
It's so funny you say that, Krunal. Like, when I go back to thinking, and I started this off by saying, when it came to choosing a career pathway, my parents gave me a choice. Like, it wasn't Teeshal, what would you like to do? It was more like Teeshal, engineer, doctor, lawyer, pick one. It's and that's how it was in the initial set of days. And I fast forward now, so we're very blessed to actually have two girls. And my younger one's 9 and the older one's 12. And my 9-year-old, so I say to her, so what is it that you think you do? Like, what, when you finish school, what do you think you do? She goes, Mama, I'm going to become a YouTube influencer, of course. Like it was like a no-brainer that she was going to become an influencer, right? Like I think the world that we lived in compared to where we are right now, we have to move with times. If we actually have that archaic sort of thinking to go, that's just how it was and that's how it always will be, like we're in prehistoric dinosaur sort of era. We need to be so resilient and adaptable to where life is going and kind of go with it. It's this classic example of Nokia, right? They choose not to innovate with their phones, and look at where they are today compared to where Apple and Samsung are. So it's classic examples of companies as well that have been around for so long and said, you know what, we're not changing, we're just going to do things the way we've always done and you'll be all right. No, it's not quite the case. So I think it's the same thing right now, looking at the new generation. Like we've got 2 year olds or 1 year olds that just somehow have got the intuition to use phones already. Like you start swiping left, swiping right, clicking on, and you're like, oh my God, how is it that they actually even know how to use phones? They never had any manual. No one was really teaching them how to do it, but they've got that intuition. So, we're living in a world whereby there is so much knowledge out there. Like, prior to this, I know when I was younger, my mom said, I want to learn something. Okay, go look for your uncle, go look for your auntie, and they'll teach you this and learn this. Today, no one does that. Everyone just goes on to the internet and actually find the information they want, like literally on their fingertips, right? So knowledge isn't the problem. There is abundance of knowledge out there. But the challenge is, who do you listen to? Who do you follow? Because there is so much out there. And I think that's where I believe mentorship actually plays a very, very big role. I believe that if you have absolute clarity of what you're wanting out of your life, is look for people who have those results that you're after and follow them. And if I may, Krunal, I'll just share with you a quick example. So when I was actually connecting with all these different people on LinkedIn, a couple of hundred people, I came across a lady, and she, on her title, she said physician and entrepreneur, and I thought, oh, that's very interesting. And she was based in New York, and I didn't realize at the time that looking at her profile that she was based in New York. She reached out to me and she says, "Hey, Teeshal, do you would like to connect over Zoom?" And I thought, oh my God, this is what I do with other people anyway. 100% yes. So I connected with her. And she was from Madras, moved to New York about 30 years ago, and she was a neonatologist, so looks after premature babies. Husband was in geriatrics, so both specialist doctors that actually earn very, very well in New York. And she asked me a couple of questions that day that made me think so differently, Krunal. So we are so used to people asking us, "What's your 1 year goal? What's your 3 year goal? What's your 5 year goal?" Right? Like we talk in those sort of numbers, right? Correct. She asked me. She said, "So, Tisha, what's your non-negotiable goal in your life? If tomorrow you're dead and gone, what is your non-negotiable goal?" I went, "Wow, that's actually a really big question. Like, I really
Aha
have to,
moment, right?
yeah, I have to think about this." And I went, I'm not really sure." And she says, "Well, think about it. Like, what's non-negotiable for you?" And then when I actually really thought about it, I realized that I actually just wanted time to travel the world and create experiences and create a difference, make a difference and create a legacy. That's what I really, really wanted. Not that's non-negotiable for me. And then she said, "Oh, okay, that sounds great." And she said, um, so do you feel like you're actually working towards making that happen right now?" I said, no, no, not really. And she said to me, "Okay, so how do you see yourself making that happen?" I said, "Well, right now the plan is to just keep working, and then we've got investment properties, and we do different things on the side." And she says, "So will that help you? Will that help set you free?" And I said, "No, actually, it won't. It won't. Like, who am I kidding? Like, it's not going to set me free. I want choices right now. Like, I don't want to wait till I'm 60 before I actually have those choices." And then I said to her, "Well, how did it work for you?" And I started asking her a few questions. So she's financially independent today and does not rely on a job anymore. And I thought, oh my God, that's an amazing position to be in. And I said, "So did you do that through your career?" She says, "Are you kidding me? A career? Do you really think people who are in jobs would be able to retire early?" And I went, "Okay, maybe not." And I know that because I look at people around me, whoever that I know who is in jobs don't retire early. And even those that retire early end up coming back as consultants anyway, because they're so used to the income that they earn in their jobs that they still want the income to come through, so they become consultants, right? So I thought this is really interesting. So I said to her, so how have you done what you've done? Like, well, what is it? Like, you got into business? What did you do? What did you do? And kept on asking her questions. She said to me, Teeshal, you're asking me the wrong question. She says, the question isn't about what I do or how I do it. The question is, who am I associated with? And I went, that is a really weird way of saying, like, what do you mean who? Like, at the end of the day, we all want to know the what question. Like, what do you do? What do you do? How do you do it? Like, just tell me the mechanics and structure, not about the who. Because she said to me, who is in your life at the moment who's got the results you're after? Who in your life at the moment lives the life the way you want? And it took me a while to sort of think about it, because what is it that I wanted in my life? We moved from Malaysia to Australia not for a good life, for a great life, right? We wanted a much, much better quality of life. But when I came here, very grateful for my job and the experiences that I've had, great. But at the end of the day, I didn't have time. I didn't have time. You speak to someone on a Monday and you say, how are you today? Good for a Monday. What does that even mean? I'm good for a Monday. Do you know what I mean? And then when it comes to Wednesday, you're like, oh my God, it's Wednesday, it's hump day. Like, I'm almost there, right? And then Friday, thank God it's Friday. And then Monday, we start again. Is that the life we wanted for ourselves? Like, to just get through week to week, to get excited about 2 days, and then just to repeat it again, week in, week out for the next 40 years of our life? I don't think that's why we came to Australia. There's no joy. There is no joy and excitement about life, right? So when I started to talk to her about that, and she said, okay, so who in your life have actually got those results? Because I realized the results for me was someone who had choice, someone who had great relationships with people, did really well in their career if that's what they wanted, or business, and had time. Like, they had choice to go, you know what? I'm actually going to take off for 8 weeks to Europe because I can. I choose not to work today because I can. But I actually didn't know anybody in my life who actually had those sort of choices. And then I said to her, okay, I'm sorry. Let me just change the question. I said, who do you know in your network who've got that sort of life? Tisha, that is a much better question to ask.
Okay.
And through her, I got connected to other people. So there's one particular gentleman that I actually met, was a mechanical engineer by trade, and he moved from from India to US. Was an IIT grad, so obviously studied really well and super geeky and very brainy sort of child. And he said the same thing. He moved from India to America for the great life. And then
Right.
fast forward sort of 5, 6, 7 years, and he's like, oh my God, I'm doing what everybody else is doing. This is not what I came here for.
Correct.
So when I
So,
started to hear his story and how he created a business on the side, and then within 5 years, like, he created a business part time, he had his full time job, and within 5 years, he was earning more money from his business than his job. I was fascinated, Krunal. I was like, wow, like, how is it that you do that? Like, that's crazy. And he said because he said to me, well, I guess when I heard his story, I was like, teach me. Like, can you please teach me, how is it that you've done what you've done?
yep.
He says, I believe in paying it forward. I believe in helping other people and teaching you. But the truth is, I just don't know if you've got the right mindset. She says, I can't teach you hunger. I can't teach you motivation. I can't teach you all of those things, but I can teach you mechanics and structure. Right. But I need
Right.
to know that you've got the drive. If I'm going to invest and mentor and coach you, I want to make sure you've got the right mindset. So in a
Mm.
few weeks, I actually went through a whole education sort of process with him, and he finally took us under his wing, and he mentors and coaches us now to create additional income outside our 9 to 5. But the reason I share this story is because of connections,
Yeah.
people. Like, people that you
Yeah.
meet connects you with different people. And when you align with people who've got the values and the results that you're after, then follow them. Like, follow, copy and paste, right? Like, do what they've done.
Easy. 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 Yes. Yes.
Correct. But not
Absolutely.
everybody wants to do that, because everybody's happy with the, people go 40 years, I can't work 40 years of my life. And then I say, but
No.
you've got a 5 year plan. Well, 5 years, I can't do that either. So you don't want to do the 40-year plan, but you're not willing to do the hard work for the next 5 years either.
Yeah. You're
Unfortunately,
right.
that's the society that we live in right now.
That's the society we live in. Correct. Now we go back to your conversation with 250 people. I have questions. Too many questions about. Okay. So, firstly, from all those conversations you had with all other people from all over the world, what is the top three takeaways you got?
I think the first one was I you only know what you know. You only know what you know. By having conversations with those different people, really broadened my perspective for what was possible. In my mind, like I only thought that I had this pathway, like I had no other choice, right? Because I didn't know any better. But I think once you actually put your ego to the side and go, maybe I don't know everything and maybe I can learn from other people, then more doors got opened for me. I think that was the first one. It's like I learned and had so many interesting perspectives that I didn't have before. See, that's the other thing, right? When we connect and network with people, we tend to network with people who are in the same industry as we are. Engineers connect with engineers, doctors with doctors, lawyers with lawyers. Like that's your network, right? But if you want to have different way of thinking, you almost need to step outside of that and let's connect with different people because the way they think might be a little bit different to you. So I think that was probably the number one thing that I took away out of all the different conversations. Like, wow, there is so much that I don't know, and I'm actually willing to actually learn. I think the second thing was really the value of connecting with people and what opportunities can come of it. Like when you actually have a conversation of just getting to know people for who they are. There's something my mentor shares with me, which I absolutely love. He says, seek to understand before being understood. So seek to understand. We always feel like we understand. We already understand, right? But do you really? Every time you think you understand, like ask one more question. Ask just one more question and make sure that you really seek to understand. Because when you have that sort of approach, you really take the effort to sort of really work out what is it about people, as opposed to just assuming in your head. Because of our lived experiences, our own sort of values, our belief system, we make things in our head and we think that to be true, but it may not be what we think it is until you actually seek to understand. Um, that's the second one. And the third one, what was my takeaway? Life changed, Krunal. My life
Yes,
has
so see,
literally
that's
changed.
something I want to learn as well. So, yes, as you said, like you learn from others. I'm not a book reader. Like yes, I'm not reading all the time. I've got to work. I've got clients and all that. So, finding time to read is not my thing. But yes, as you said, the human library. So I am kind of that person. I talk to people and I learn a lot of things. And then my interaction level is quite high as well. So I talk to a lot of people. My clients are like businessmen and all that, entrepreneurs. So I do mostly work in business, so business visas. So yes, I have people who are having different mindsets than other migrants. So yes, that's what I want to talk to you about. So give me the third takeaway.
I say my life has changed, and I don't mean that just as a matter of fact. It's literally changed. If you asked me 2 years ago, Teeshal, would you be able to actually take on a really senior role within your organization? Would you be able to actually run the not for profit? Would you be able to start up another business, look after your kids at home? How can you fit all of these things in? Right, and I would have thought like this is impossible. Like there is no way. I don't have that many hours in a day. We all have that same 1440 minutes, and we you can't quite fit that in. But in actual fact, you can when you manage your influence. A lot of us are worried about how do I manage my time, how do I manage my money, how do I manage my relationships. It's all managing those things. The one thing we don't manage well is our influence. Who is in our ear? Who is giving us advice of what to do and what not to do? I've become so selective on who I take advice from Prunal today because I realized that if you if you don't have a mentor, the society will mentor you, right? So if you don't take specific influence from people, the whole world will influence you, and that's why you don't have direction. You will do this one day, tomorrow you'll do something else, and you keep changing because you don't have direction as to where you're going. You're just kind of just looking up and going, oh, my so and so friend's doing this, maybe I should do that. That person's doing this, I should do that. That person's studying this, I should do that. like you don't have direction. So it makes it really, really challenging. So I think for me, life's changed for me because I'm so, so blessed and grateful that I now have a circle of influence of people that I look up to. They have lives that I actually can only dream about. And I'm excited about life. I'm like, there is so much to do, but it makes it so much more exciting when you're taking advice from people who already have those results. So I'm like, I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I'm just going to follow because their values align with mine.
Great, excellent. So now you have mentioned that you have been through multiple entrepreneurship. So could you please tell us about more about your entrepreneurship, and then I will seek advice on that. What have you done so far as an
Oh, what
entrepreneur?
have I done? Okay, it's more like what haven't I done, Krunal?
Oh, really?
When I was in
Yeah.
Perth, I didn't come from a. Although we came in here through business migration, my parents were not business people. My dad's brother helped him out with securing his visa to actually come across as to start up a business, but he had zero experience. A lot of people in my personal circle are people who progressed their career through corporate. No one really started off businesses. Now, it was too risky, it's crazy, why would you do it? All of those things, right? So I didn't come from that background. But I was hungry because I knew career pathway was awesome and great, but I knew with my results that I want, like dreams and goals that I had, I wasn't going to be able to have that if I only went down the career pathway. So in Perth, I paid for a membership to be part of an organization called XL that stood for Extraordinary Leaders. The idea of this community membership was to do a wealth profile assessment. So a lot of time there's actually personality tests that people can do. What sort of personality type are you? You know, are you dominant? Are you influential? Are you steady, compliant? All of those things. But this was a wealth profile. How did the Richard Bransons and Oprah Winfrey's and the Jack Welch of the world create their financial wealth? And you can do an assessment on that. I found it so fascinating. So I did the assessment, and then they actually put us into groups of 8, which is all the 8 different profiles that you actually have in the wheel for your wealth profile. And the idea was to actually assess business ideas using everybody's strengths, the 8 different strengths in a personality. And through that is how we started our first business. So we bought the master license to start up a postal distribution network in Western Australia. So we bought the license for Western Australia, really. In a short 3 years, we grew our network to 150 franchises. I was the youngest in the group and had zero experience, but I was very hungry to learn. So I quit my job and I got into business full time. My husband was working at the time, so he was the one responsible for putting food on the table while I was figuring stuff out. And it was very challenging because it was something new. I didn't really know how to do it, but I learned so much about business just in that one venture alone. Although we were turning over multi-million dollars in the second year onwards, um, things actually went pear-shaped. We had our licensor that was based in New South Wales. We had a trust account, and it was mismanaged. We had the licensor take money out of our bank account without our permission. All of our patrons didn't get paid. I was director of the company. There was no money in the bank account. I can't
Oh
trade.
my God.
I can't trade. So I had to close the doors. We had to face 200 plus people and say to them, I'm sorry, I don't have your money. Doing that as
Oh,
a 27-year-old um, was very, very hard. I
very
did
hard.
not have
Very hard.
the I did not have the maturity at the time to deal with the situation because all I could see
No.
was disappointed faces looking at me as though I'm the person that's actually taken their money.
Right.
And the licensor that was based in New South Wales was taken by ASIC to court, and all
Mhm.
they got was a slap on the wrist and said, "No business for you for the next 3 years." All of their assets were well protected under trust and companies, so even if we did take them to court, we wouldn't get anything out of it. So it was a very
Oh my God.
painful experience. And Kevin, who was one of the shareholders that stood by me all the way through, he owned 13 H&R blocks, right? So he's a well seasoned businessman. Every
Mm.
other shareholder that we partnered with disappeared. No one wanted to know about us. No one wanted to see what was happening. I was holding the lease of the office, and we maybe had an office in the city at the time. It was very painful. But Kevin
Oh.
stood by me and he said, Tishal, this is a very profitable business. Let's not
Mm.
just let it go to waste. Let's just take another loan. Let's start again.
Mm.
But
Good.
although I say I was very immature to deal with the situation at the time, but the one thing that I realized at the time, and I said to Kevin, was I said the one thing that we've got, the one thing that's been betrayed is trust. So those postal
Yes.
agents look at us and they don't trust us right now. And no matter
Yes.
how exciting or how amazing an opportunity might be, if you don't actually have trust, you have nothing. And I
Mm.
knew in my wisdom at the time that was true. So we closed everything up, and there was no more business. Business was over. We had a bit of a debt to actually settle,
Yeah.
because there was no money, right? So I kind of cried and wanted to dig a big hole, put my head in, and not face the world because I felt like I was a complete failure.
Right.
But I licked my wounds, and you only need something like that to happen for everybody around you to say, "See, I told you it wasn't going to
Mm.
work." Right? So you have
Mm.
enough of
Mm.
those people around to tell you how bad it was and what a bad
Absolutely.
decision you made,
Absolutely. Yes.
right? And reinforces the fact that why I should not be in business. So I
Yes.
actually went back into engineering, licked my wounds, and did that for a few years, and kind of got ourselves back steady. But it didn't deter me. So my second business was actually property. I absolutely love property. So I bought my first property when I was 23. I was an engineer during the day, and at night I was waitressing. I
Wow.
couldn't actually, I couldn't actually afford making so many repayments. The banks weren't as strict back then, like, this is going back 17, 18 years ago. So I
Mm-hmm.
could actually get loans, but I need to refinance, like, to actually finance them. And I was on a mission. Every year I would just collect another property and work twice as hard because I thought in my mind I just need to build property up because I didn't know what else to do.
Correct.
And then I learned how to, so my second business was I actually learned how to buy distressed properties that were going through bank auctions.
Mm-hmm.
I learned from someone that was living in New South Wales at the time. She was a barrister. I did a whole course with her, paid her $20,000 for her mentorship program. And my husband at the time
Wow.
said, "Are you crazy? Why would you give this lady $20,000?" I said to him, "Do you know how to do this? Do you know how to flip properties and find distressed properties?" And he said, "No."
Mm.
And I said, "Well, that's exactly why we're paying her, so that we learn."
Correct.
And we
Mm.
made that money back in our first transaction.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
it was an
Was
amazing.
was worth. Yeah.
Yeah, it was 100% worth it. And I learned a lot out of that. So we flipped about 5 or 6 properties that year. And then my friends, and then the challenge with flipping properties is that you got to wait for your properties to be sold before you can buy the next one.
Correct.
Right. So
Mm.
cash flow
Mm.
was a bit of a challenge. And then my friend said to me, "Teeshal, you're really fast. You're renovating properties in 4 weeks. You're you're in, you do your thing before settlement can even happen. The property's back on the market again. You should start up your own renovation company." I said, "What a brilliant
Mm.
idea. Let's do that.
Wow.
How do I
Wow.
start?" How do I start? So that was
Right.
a journey in itself and of learning. So I went through probably about a whole year of trialing different things because I didn't have someone who could teach me and guide me on how to start up a renovation company. But after
Mm.
a year of actually, more than that, of actually just doing things that were not right, wasting a lot of time and money as well, we got to a point where we were renovating about 30, 40 properties a year.
Wow.
Uh, I had a supervisor on site. My kids were very, very little at the time, but I didn't have time because it was a traditional business that required me to be there all the time, and
Correct.
be the customer service, be the the person that actually helps with selection of tiles and tapware and all of that, and then do the legal and the accounts and all of it. I was just one person because that's what
Correct.
traditional businesses are like.
It
I was
does.
like, I'm
Yes.
exhausted. But that was our second business that we ran. And then we invested in the US as well. We bought car parks in Europe. Like, man, we've done so many different things that I just don't think
Wow.
we have enough time to talk about for now. but today,
Uh,
when I talk about business, I, based on what I've actually learned from my mentors right now to create financial independence, I actually teach and coach other people to do the same.
right.
So I work with very, very few people, with people that are really serious about wanting to do more out of life and knowing that their job income will not be able to help them get to the goals that they want.
Yep.
So I coach and mentor them to create additional income sources.
Wow. Okay. So let's talk about that. So when you mentor someone, so someone comes to you with a job, like, okay, I'm working 9 to 5, I'm an accountant, lawyer, blah blah blah, and now I want financial freedom. I know you charge for that, so
I actually
but
don't.
you don't.
I
Wow.
don't. I actually don't.
You
And
should.
I probably should. I probably should. I really, really believe in paying it forward, Krunal. I just, and I mean it when I say this. Like, I am so excited about life. The amount of opportunities that I've had in the last 1 year, I just never thought I would have before. And the reason for that, like I've put myself out there. So yesterday, actually, I think our thing's a bit blurred. I'm not sure if you can actually see it. Oh yeah, you can. So there is this book called Undefeated. So yeah, so I co-authored this book with about 89 other migrant women in Australia, and we launched this book last year. So yesterday, I was very lucky to be part of City of Melbourne's event at a local library, and I was a guest speaker on a panel to actually address questions about why write stories about being undefeated. As migrants coming into this country, we come to this country with so much of dreams, so much of aspiration to have a much better life than what we have. And then you fast forward a few years, and then your dreams start to shrink, and then you stay complacent, and then you just be like everybody else. And that was me. That was me a good few years ago, where I tried different things. Like as I shared with the businesses and stuff, sometimes it went well, sometimes it didn't go as well. But then I kind of lost a bit of hope as well, because I think maybe it's not possible to do it all. But when I found the kind of mentors that I did and saw the type of lifestyle that they had, I then knew that it was possible. Because the only thing that was stopping me from having everything that I wanted in my life was my mindset. It was literally my mindset. So today I believe in paying that forward and helping other people as well to do the same, because I think when you get that right, like the world door sort of opens up and you can literally do anything.
Yeah. So let's say when you advise someone on this on career change or making extra source of income, what are your points for an individual? So what you see in the person, that this person have that or this person have that, or I will advise that. What's run back of your mind when you advise someone on that?
Oh, great question. So for me at the moment, I do mentor people, like I said before, to help them achieve their financial sort of goals. But I do it, but then there's certain qualities that I'm looking for as well, right? If someone sort of said, "Hey, Teeshal, I want to make $1 million," I'm like, "Okay, great," but I need to see a few qualities about them. Are they saying they want that, but they're not willing to put in the work, right? So I almost put them through a test. So the kind of qualities I look for is someone who's growth orientated, someone who, it's okay if you don't know all the answers, but they're actually willing to learn, like growth orientated. Someone who is hungry. Hungry, when I say hungry, it's not hungry just for material wealth, but hunger to actually give back as well, like to actually make a difference. Someone who is accountable, someone who actually says if they're going to do something, they're actually going to do it. And someone who's grateful. That's something that's probably one of the most important aspects that I look for. Someone who's actually got gratitude. A lot of times that we live in a society where people feel very entitled, very entitled. Don't go far. My kids feel very entitled. Mama, you should give me $100 pocket money every month because I should. I should. Yeah, why not? I know you've got money, so just give it up. We live in a world where everyone feels so entitled, and I think for me, it's like I invest time and energy into people, but I want to make sure that they are grateful for that time and energy, and they can actually pay it forward to others as well.
These days, yes, our kids are privileged and they have what we don't never had before, and, including mobile phones, TVs, and all the physical luxuries we can talk about, cars and everything. So, how as a migrant lady, as migrant mother, how you raise your kids, or how you wanted to raise your kids, and how everybody should do it. What is the right way, basically?
What is the right way? I wish there was a
According to,
manual.
in your opinion, I would say yes, could be different for other parents and other cultures, and but what's your way?
Um, I actually really don't know what is the right or wrong way. But what I do know is that can I just share a quick story, right? So there was a lady who had three children, a single mom, and she had to raise the kids all on her own. She gave the kids so much of love and support, encouragement, everything they said they want to do. Yes, you can, and that kind of attitude. So when the kids grew up, became adults, one would think that they would have had the best upbringing, that they could like, take on the world and do whatever, but it couldn't be further from the truth. And this is why. When the mother looks at herself in the mirror, or when someone takes a photo of her, all she comments about is that how crooked her nose looks, how fat she is, and how how her eye, how many wrinkles she actually has around her eyes. And and when the kids sort of says, when people look at me, they always say I look like my mom. So if my mom thinks that she doesn't actually look all that great, I must not look very good myself. This same mom, right, was asked by her friends to go rock climbing, try Thai food, try Vietnamese, try Japanese. Like, let's just try and experience different things. And she used to say, that's not for me. That's for other people. Other people can do those things, not me. And the son said, my mom's actually my pillar of strength. She's my rock. If that my pillar of strength can't do those things, what makes you think that I can take on the world? Right? And I share this story with you because that was that moment of realization for me when I had my kids. I can say to them, the world's your oyster. Do whatever it is that you want to do in your life. Like, go for it, go for it. And when I look at myself in the mirror and I say, am I doing the same? Am I practicing what I'm preaching to my kids? So I think that was one of those like rude awakening moments, Krunal, that actually went, you know what? Kids don't actually hear what you say. They see what you do. They see what you do. So I guess, so for me, I think parenting is about leadership. Parenting is about being the example. Parenting is about walking the talk. Like if I say, my dreams are important for me. This is what I'm doing. I got to show that this is what I'm doing. And it's amazing the type of conversations I've been able to have with my kids because I do those things. And it hasn't been the best. Like, I've got people around me who say, oh my God, you don't spend so much time with your kids. You've got your business, you've got your charity, you've got your job, like, your children, like time for them. I said, I'm probably not one of those traditional moms who probably spend 5, 6 hours with them every day. I don't. But it's a choice. But the 1 hour that I spend with them is for the quality 1 hour because we have very meaningful conversations in that time.
Yep.
And why is that? Because I feel that they can do whatever that they set their mind to. I don't want them to know mom is only an engineer. Mom only runs charity. Mom only runs business. She can do it all. But how do I tell them that they can do it all if I don't do it myself?
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's
So
not
yeah.
it's not easy, Krunal. It really isn't. But I think where I go with raising them, and I make mistakes. I'm a work in progress. Every single day, it's a work in progress.
Everybody. Yeah.
But it's actually having those conversations with them to actually go. Sometimes I make mistakes too, and sometimes I plan for stuff and it doesn't happen. But what do? I just fall 7 times and wake up 8 times.
Absolutely, absolutely. Awesome, awesome. See, this is yeah, takeaway for the parents. Like yes, we have to set the example basically, and when we don't set an example for our kids, that who will? So we are the first person they see every day, and they learn from us. So yep, you're absolutely right. So in your previous question, you explained some about like when we come here, we come with a like a lot of expectations and all that. So when migrants, okay, so I'm moving towards the migration bit. So let's say when and in your book Undefeated got migration stories, all the migrant women has wrote that. So all migrant women in there. So tell me about from the book or from your own experiences that when a migrant comes to Australia, what are the main misconceptions they have and the
This is the
thinkers?
land of milk and honey, and everything's just going to work out. It is not. That is literally the false sort of expectation sometimes that people have, right? Actually, in the panel discussion yesterday, there was a lady, Catalina Nera, that shared this really interesting analogy. She said life is almost like a triathlon. Like when she actually came into Australia to start with, she goes, oh, I got to start running. Okay, I'll run. I'll keep doing this. And this could be an example of a migrant who comes in to work out, where do I live? I need to get accommodation. And then now I need to actually secure myself a job. Okay, I've done that. And then once you start running, you go, oh, I think I need to start swimming right now. Right. And then go, okay, I need to start swimming. So I need to do different things. How do I fit in an organization? How do I actually grow my network? How do I actually have a much better life? And then you go on, okay, you've done that. Like, oh, what's next? Oh, what's next now? I actually have to start, cycling or swimming, whatever it might be. Forgot the kind of, with the triathlon or what comes first. But the point is, it doesn't end. Like you do one thing and then you move on to the next and the next. And that's just how it works. But the thing to remember is that the skill set and the mindset that you had to actually get to one point isn't the same skill set and mindset you need to take you to the next level. You need to have new skill set. You need to have a new mindset. And sometimes people think like, that's just how I am as a person. That's just who I am. I can't change. Well, if you can't change, you're right. Then just keep staying where you are and don't expect for big things to happen to you. So I think it's a Henry Ford that says, oh, 100%. I think it's Henry Ford that says, if you say if you say you can or if you say you can't, either way you're right.
There you go. There you
Either
go.
way you're right. So
Yes, yes, it is. Yeah, absolutely right. And I have seen a lot of migrants that they say these things to me and say, okay, that's something I can't. I can't score English. I can't do that. I can't do that. That's the way I am. I say, hey, wake up. You can do it. Why you can't? Everybody can. Everybody else is doing. Why you can't do it? So yes, you have to change it. Change in a mindset is necessary. I would say that, and that's absolutely fundamental. Fundamental. Everybody growth, progressive nature, individual must have that. That's basics. And okay, so from the book, I've got another question. So, what is your favorite story?
my story.
Okay, other than yours. Yeah,
No, I think it's a really good question for now.
yeah,
Almost every story that's in the book is one that I really resonate with because we all
yeah,
have slightly different stories, but the
yeah.
struggle is the same. The
Correct.
fear is the same. The
Yes.
challenges are very similar, and the challenges actually stays in our head. Like it stems from what's in here, right? Oftentimes what's actually stopping us from overcoming a lot of challenges that we have in as migrants, it's finding the job, or if not, it's progressing to the next career or getting into business or helping your kids settle into the environment, whatever that might be. A lot of fear that we actually have stems from our mind, right? The fear of failing, the fear of being rejected, the fear of acceptance, the fear, right? It's fear.
Yeah,
Fear of just taking
yeah.
the first step. It's all this
Correct.
fear because we grew up with this conditioning that there's right and wrong. When you're
Hmm.
so young, when you do something, good job, beta, like good job, you did this, you did that, like very good, very good. Or if you did that,
Yeah,
very bad, you shouldn't have done that. So we grew up in an environment there was a right, there was a wrong, right?
yeah,
And then
yeah.
as you get older, you realize there isn't necessarily a right or wrong. It just is. Like you just make a decision, you kind of go with it.
That's it.
But
That's
it's
it.
so hard because people have got this conditioning from such a young age about right and wrong. They're so scared to get it wrong. But
Hmm.
because there's
Hmm.
so much fear of getting it wrong, why bother trying? Maybe it's easier not to try because then I can't
Correct.
say I failed.
You're right.
Yeah, so
Right.
just stick where
So
you
that's
are.
yeah. Yes. Yes. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll move on to my next question. Got this question. So okay. Uh, what is the out of these experiences, whatever you had, from in entrepreneurship to the job with writing, this being a part of this book, you found this great leadership and all that. Out of having kids, yes, that's the best moment you have. But apart from having child or having the family, what is the best moment you have in within your migration journey in Australia? The best one.
It's so hard to say that because every single one of those situations in my life has defined who I am today. Like it's so hard, Krunal, to answer that question because every single one of those things were defining moments that actually led to who I am today. I wouldn't trade it for the world, right? If someone said to me, Tishal, you've got a crystal ball, you know this is how it's going to be, would you go back there and change anything? I wouldn't because then I won't be who I am today. Like those lived experience won't make me who I am. So yeah, it's I don't actually I can't answer that question. It's every single moment has actually been a moment that's made me who I am. But I would actually say you got to have clarity of what your dreams and goals are. As a migrant, if you're moving to this country because you actually you've got these big aspirations of all these dreams and goals that you want out of your life, don't compromise. The title of my story in this book is "Do Not Let Anyone Steal Your Dreams." That's the title of my story, and it's all about why give that to somebody else. It was your dream and your goal. Why have you given the right for someone else to steal it from you? I think everything and anything is possible, but I think it is also possible, one, with the right mindset, but it helps enormously when you have the right support network around you that can lift, support, and inspire you to get to those goals. So for me, it was, mentorship, network. Like those two things are like non-negotiables for me, because if I didn't have those things, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Right. And see, this is something I'm seeing from every guest. So every guest is I'm not deliberately asking these questions, but every guest is repeating this sentence, this phrase, that networking, it's no matter what you know, it's always matter who you know.
You know? Yeah.
Correct. And this is coming out of every conversation. That's the bottom line I'm getting from everybody. I don't know why, but that's somewhere,
Because it's
you
the
know,
truth.
that's the truth. Right,
I,
right.
I think we as human beings like to overcomplicate things, because the more complicated it is, then it makes more sense. But if we go back to basics, it's really not that complicated. Like, let's not, it's not complicated. You come to a new place, you need to build your network. You only know what you know. If you want to have different results, you got to follow what other people are doing and then learn from them. So, network, right? Mentorship comes into place because you don't have all the answers in your own head, right? So you've got people with expertise and experience out there. Go learn from them. If somebody wanted to migrate here, they can fill up the hundreds of paperwork that they need to come here for now. But you've got expertise. You've been in the business for a while. You are the subject matter expert. Yes, you pay for a charge for your services, and so you should, because you've got the expertise. But to shortcut that process of getting them migration, use your service. It's really as simple as that. Like seek people who've got results and learn from them, pay them, whatever it is, and then you'll get the outcome you want. We have these people with such of a lack mentality as opposed to abundance. Oh, but if I could save $500, I could do it on my own. I could actually do this on my own. I could just Google stuff. I could just use YouTube. Okay. Well, then don't get upset if the results aren't there in the time that you want it.
Correct, correct.
Right?
And
So
yes, yes. So when you seek an advice from someone, then yes, of course, you're paying for it, but there is a value of that, payment you make. You save, either you save time. Yes, if you have time, you do it by yourself. But anything, not just migration, anything.
correct,
But you
correct.
but doing everything by yourself, that doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
So the question is, what do people value? Do they value time? Do they
really
value
time
money?
or
Do
the
they
money?
value
Yes,
expertise? What is it that they value?
expertise, I would say. Expertise, expertise is the key. So if you are expert in something, okay. Yes, I missed a question while I was asking you about what you the tick in the back of your mind when you assess a person. So what are the qualities that you found in the people, in the migrants, when they're coming to you asking the same question, like, okay, I want to achieve this, I want to achieve this, and I need your guidance to be financially free. So
Yeah.
what's your what most common questions they have, or most common problems they have?
Um, there's a lot of challenges around confidence and self belief. Um, and it's you don't sound like the Australians around here. I don't sound like an Australian. We've been here 20 years, and I'm very proud of my Malaysian accent. Like, that's my superpower, and that defines me or who I am. I don't need to change for somebody else. But I think it's the self belief, right? Like, we all want to feel like we belong. Ultimately, like, kids do that at school. Like, they might wear funny clothes or dress funnily because they're trying so hard to fit in. And we as adults are no different. We want people to like us. We want to feel accepted. We want to feel like we belong. So when you come into an environment, people try and change who they are as a person so that they can fit in. But I think if we keep doing that, we'll come to a point whereby that's not who we are as a person. And there will be unhappiness within yourself because you're not living your authentically to who you are. So I think one is that, but I'm not saying you shouldn't adapt to the environment. Like, you definitely adapt to it, but you still be who you are. um you don't need to, change drastically, change your everything that there is about you, just so that you can actually fit in, because then people don't value you as a person because you're not sticking to who you are, right? I think self confidence and belief is probably one of the biggest challenges when I actually speak to people who are new. The other aspect is the want as opposed to the give mentality. So people that I speak to, just and because I'm a brown person that lives in Australia and I've been here long enough, they expect you to do stuff for them. So if you say, I'm happy to help you. Okay, here's my resume. Can you actually review it? Okay, can you help me get a job? So can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? It's like go, 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 go. I'm like, whoa, like, okay, I can help, but I can't guarantee you that this is what I'm going to be able to do for you. But they have got this mindset where, especially if people of the same race and ethnicity, they expect so much from their people that it makes it really quite challenging. And there's this take mentality as opposed to give, right? Like, let's take as much as possible of what we can take. Like, I don't want to pay you. I don't want to, like, I don't want to give you anything, but I just want to take everything from you. Like, it's that mentality of very like scarcity sort of mindset. Like, you better take as much as I can because maybe she won't give me tomorrow. So better take it today. So they don't value your time necessarily. They don't value your expertise. They don't really value you. And I think for me, it's really, really sad. Like, some people that I speak to and I say, yeah, I'm happy to help you. But and when we do the role playing for them in interviews as well, I was like, focus on what you can give the organization. Focus on what value you can add to other people, as opposed to what are other people going to be able to do for you.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And yes, that component is lacking in the society, I would say. Um, I don't know why. What is it? Do you find the reason like why that happens?
I think if people come from overseas, it's the survival of the fittest, right? It's always been an environment where you actually have to constantly compete with other people to get to a certain point. Like what, like a lot of Southeast Asian homes are like that. Study, 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 extra tuition, do this, do that, so that you can get top marks, so that you can compete with that person. What did your friend get? Your friend got 80. No, you need to get 85 and do better. Like, we
Yep.
live in a world where, and a lot of Southeast Asian sort of countries are all based on competition. Like, the way to get
Yep.
ahead is for somebody else to actually not do as well.
Hmm.
Does it have to be like that?
No way. No way. I
Yeah.
cut the
But
doors. I cut the cords. Like I'm not competing myself with anyone else. I'm competing myself to myself. What I was yesterday. Am I doing better today? I'm done. That's it.
100% for now. But that is a mindset shift. That is not the mindset that a lot of migrants have. The mindset the
Hmm.
migrants have is survival. So to
Yes.
survive, like, I gotta be the one. I gotta be the one. It's not about give. It's about take, 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 so that I can do well.
Hmm.
So when they bring that mentality even to corporate, it's very noticeable. Like, the way people think, and then they ask, like, why is it that I'm not moving up?
Hmm.
Why is it not I'm not getting all these amazing opportunities to take on senior roles? What's
Yes.
your mindset? Like, what you should
Correct.
get as opposed to what you should give? You
Yes,
know.
absolutely right. 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 Yes.
So I think
Okay.
that's the fundamental sort of
That's the
challenge
fundamentals.
and
Yes,
issue for them to
absolutely.
overcome.
Yep, yep. And then this is, I think this takeaway should be the one of the best takeaway from today's podcast for all the migrants. Like change your mentality from taking to giving. So that give something to the country, give something to the organization, give something to the community, and you will get it back for sure. It will be an auto process. You don't have to work towards it. You'll get it. That's something as simple as that. Okay. So I'll after these all questions and everything, I've got one more question for you, which is towards the business. Uh, let's say I'll someone take away everything for you. You come back to zero, or you just came here as a migrant, first day landing in Australia, and now you have with all this knowledge, all this information you have. What would you do to become financially free in Australia from today?
That exercise that I spoke about before, where I was connecting with people through LinkedIn, that only happened a few years ago. I would do that from day dot. I would build my network as soon as I can, and find and seek for mentors as soon as I can. That those two things would be the non-negotiable for me, to if I could really start my journey again.
Yeah. And so let's say, okay, you found the mentors, but I'm talking about financial freedom. So just from the mentors or anything else that you want to share with our audience?
I think because of all the different experiences that I've actually had, I think back, like, could things have been different for me. Like, did I really have to actually have a lot of those financial sort of losses? Like, did I have to? Maybe I had to because it was part of a learning experience anyway. But put all of that aside, I think if I had the right mentorship and guidance from the beginning, it would have helped with the journey so much more because I would learn mindset and I wouldn't be driven by outcome. I'd be driven by the way of thinking to get to the outcome. Oftentimes, we are always very fixated on the vehicle. What is your vehicle for financial freedom? Is it property? Is it stock market? Like you got to start a business. Like what is it? They're so hung up on the vehicle. But I think from what I've learned, the vehicle doesn't actually matter. The outcome matters. Like I want to hang out with people who've got those results and almost can guarantee me that says, and this is what my mentors have done with me. Like they just said, Teeshal, if you have that growth mindset right now, if you do the things that we're teaching you and coaching you right now, in the next 5 years, earning three, four, $500,000 a year in passive income is guaranteed. Guaranteed. And I was like, what else is a guarantee in life? There is no guarantee in life, right? But they're saying to me, Tishal, it's guaranteed. And the reason why we can guarantee is because we've helped that many people do exactly that.
Hmm. Do you
So,
mind
so
sharing something with our audience? Something like whatever they guarantee them that, okay, if they do this, that will help them.
for us, like in our particular mentorship group, it's all about personal development and growth. It's all about mindset. Like I know we talked so much in this podcast today, all about mindset, because I think that is the biggest thing that we need. Like again, mechanics, structure, business, all of those things can come. But if you don't have the right mindset, like you wouldn't even know what hit you when something comes good in front of you, you wouldn't even know if it's there if
Right.
you're not open, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
today we coach and mentor people to create financial independence, but we want to make sure we're working with the right people. We don't charge for our time and money, but there's other ways on how we actually make that money, obviously, because how do you make $100,000 to $200,000 a year if there was no money exchange? There is some of that, but it's probably not something we can talk about in this podcast. It's a process of learning, is what I actually went through. But I
Mhm.
would probably invite and encourage your audience, if anybody wants to learn a little bit more about what I actually do and how I actually do stuff, then reach out through LinkedIn. I'll be only too happy to have a quick chat with you and kind of see where it leads.
Yep. Sure. Sure. So just the LinkedIn or any websites or any contact details you have?
I think LinkedIn's probably best.
The best. Okay. Cool. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And I will share the link in the description as well, so that they can connect you directly. It's just a quicker way.
Okay, awesome, Krunal. Thank you for that.
Great. All good. So now, okay, how hard it is for you to maintain a work-life balance? You're working, you're doing charity, and your mom and your kids are getting like nearly in the teenage, and so how is the life? How you balance everything? Yes, I know it's a mindset again. You know, that you come to the conclusion that it's all about your mindset, but
Yeah,
still, how you do it
yeah.
practically?
I don't think there is such a word called work-life balance. I actually really don't think it exists. I believe in work-life integration, like everything's morphed
Mhm.
into one, because the way I show up for work, the way I show up for my business or for my not-for-profit or for my kids, exactly the same.
Yep.
But to probably share, like you talked about, what are some of the practical things to actually help me. I run my life with a calendar. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't happen. I actually, and people will think this is crazy. I actually have time in here for date nights with my husband, because if it's not in the diary, it doesn't happen. If I actually have, like, date nights with the kids, like all the things that I actually do for my entire life is with a diary,
Calendar. Yeah.
with a calendar. I live with a calendar. Through mentorship and through learning from my mentors, I actually learned that having very successful daily habits are super, super important. So I start my day pretty early in the morning. I believe in holistic living, again, work in
Yeah.
progress. But I start off by doing my exercise in the morning. So I use a personal trainer to help me. In the days that I don't use a PT, I'm doing Pilates at home.
Yeah.
Nutrition is a very big aspect of my life, and eating healthy and exercising and sleep and meditation, having a gratitude journal, because you talked about becoming a better version of you, of who you were yesterday, like comparing you with
Yep.
you. I so believe
Yeah.
that, Krunal. And I think there's an amazing book on this as well that I finished. It's called The Gap and Gain by Dan Sullivan. Oftentimes people talk about what's next, what's next, what's next. I'm here now, what's next, right? But look at how far you've come. Measure your
Yeah.
progress backwards. People always tend to measure their progress forward. And the disillusion with measuring it forward is that you'll never get there. It's like the
Yeah.
ocean and actually seeing the horizon. You'll never
Never
get
end.
there because as soon as you
No.
come near, you'll push it out again and you'll push it out
Yes.
again. So you'll never get there. But it's so you got to look backwards and go, how far have you actually come?
Correct.
So I think daily habits is actually really important. So I actually have work time, and then I actually integrate business into what I do. I have conversations just like that, and then I make up for my time later on. I'm going to rattle off books at the moment because they have made such a difference in my life, Krunal. The 80-20 rule, which is the Pareto principle, is a game changer for me.
Yeah.
After I actually read that book, I went, oh my God, what 20% activity do I need to do that's giving me 80% of the results? And
Right.
that made me realize that I don't have to do everything every single
Correct.
day. I just need to focus on
Yeah.
the 20%. And by being able to manage that focus has enabled me to do all the things that I do. I do a lot of speaking engagements at the moment. I do a lot of public speaking. Um, and the book project and the charity and the business, like, yeah, I do so many different things, but I believe it's possible because you manage your focus. You don't manage your
Yeah.
time, you manage your focus and your energy.
Yeah. Great. Any other book you suggest to read?
Oh, wow, so many books come to mind. I get through at least two books a month. So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I've read
Wow.
many, many books.
Wow.
I think we started the conversation today around connection.
Yes.
We talked about relationship and building connection. So John Maxwell wrote a really good book about everyone communicates, but a few connect. That is a phenomenal book about learning how to actually build stronger connections with people and building better relationships with people. So
Yeah. Now, tell me about a growth mindset. When anyone have a growth mindset, what are the essentials they would have to have? Again, that comes to clear mindset and giving back to the society and people. But other than that, let's say somebody wants to grow their business or their career, what mindset they should keep back of their chair or seat, and then they can boost it so they can progress so quick progress, I would say. My question
yeah,
should be, sorry, I redesigned my question, that for the growth mindset, what is the boost for the growth mindset?
fail forward fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, fail
Yeah.
as fast as
Yeah.
you can, as quickly as you
Yeah.
can, right?
Okay.
Because that's the
Yeah.
only way to
Yeah.
get ahead is to just fail quickly.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of failure. I think that's probably a big one, right?
It is.
I
It is.
start my morning like when I have a shower, I have an ice cold shower. People think you're crazy.
Whoa.
And the reason why I do that, I don't do the full shower. It's the last sort of 30 to 40 seconds right at the end. It's ice cold shower. And the reason for that is that if you start your day tackling something that's really challenging, everything else becomes easy,
Easy.
right? So that mindset is about what is the one thing that's difficult to do. Just do it anyway. Just do it. Just do it. Like, I think we sometimes overthink and analyze again that we just don't do. We procrastinate
Mm.
so much and overthink, and we make it so complicated. So I think it's
Cold shower
fail
is
forward by
drug
taking
to me.
action. Okay, well, actually, we're talking about books. So the magic of thinking big talks about the only thing that cures fear is action. So if you want to grow as quickly as you want to grow, like you got to keep taking action, and it's okay if you keep failing, but it just means you feel forward and you just keep taking more action.
Yes, initial small actions will impact. Will uh, all together, that will make a huge impact. Small actions. You start with small, and then yes. Okay. Have you mentored anyone who is transitioning from a, yes, I think yes, you must have, transitioning from job to business,
Yes, 100%.
right?
All the people
So,
that I actually coach and mentor right now have jobs.
oh, really? Okay. So
They all have
they're not
jobs.
starting as a, like, not working and starting a business. They are transitioning from job to business, right?
Yeah.
So what is the biggest advice you give to them, that okay, do this, while transitioning, they drop the job, right, like me, drop it and just start business, or they can, you know eventually collaborate, like, transitioning smooth, start small and then grow and then quit the job. So what should
Yeah.
be the
Yeah.
advice?
So when I mentor, people to actually create additional sort of financials, increasing their financial sort of income capacity, it all comes back to mindset, which you spoke about. But the one thing that I work with the people that I coach is actually incorporating a successful daily habit routine. When you have so much that's happening around you with life, it can be a little bit challenging to navigate through those things. So having that daily routine that's non-negotiable and building on that is what helps them actually get results in all areas of life, not just business. And that starts for me. It starts in the morning because I feel like if you actually accomplish a certain things during the day before your day even starts, you already feel like, oh wow, I've done so many things already today, like, oh my god, everything else that I do will be a great bonus.
Yeah. I go back to the cold shower you mentioned earlier. So, where have you learned from about the cold showers?
From my mentor.
Oh, really?
And actually, when
Oh,
you
yes,
start to research about that, you'll find that cold showers actually shakes the entire system, like your body
yes,
system, but also helps with
yes.
immunity.
It is amazing. It is amazing, and these days it's like I've been introduced to cold showers, and I was talking to someone, and they introduced me to cold shower, and yes, it's amazing, isn't it? It's like
Correct.
I do it only 30 seconds at the end of the shower, but it's refresh myself, and it changes everything. It changes everything in me. So yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you
Great
for
to hear
that.
you're doing it too, Krunal. Great to hear.
Yeah. Thank you. So this is I'm moving towards the end of our podcast. So this is the question I ask to my every guest. That okay, let's say in Australian migration system everything is happening and everything is going great. And so what I would want to know from you that if you have a power, if you have a capacity to change something in current Australian migration system, what would you want to change?
I think it's giving people a go, just giving people a go. When I reflect back on my family's journey moving here 20 plus years ago, my mom really struggled to actually get a job because she didn't have local experience. That's 20 plus years ago. Today, when I speak to migrants, one of the biggest challenges is that I don't have local experience. No one's giving me a go. I think when we open the doors for migrants to come into the country, and that obviously contributes towards the wealth of the nation as a whole anyway. Like you've got to be able to give people a go. So if you're getting people into the country, you need to help them, start really, because if you don't give them a go, then how else do they actually have that local experience? But I think the way we actually do that is actually by building such strong allyship within our community. Like you can't change the entire system, right? I almost think it's the reverse of the crab analogy. Like you think of crabs in a bucket, right? All those crabs are actually going to get cooked. One crab decides to actually get off the pot, and what do the other crabs do? They pull it back, right? But if all the crabs kind of work together and help the other crabs sort of get over the pot, they'll be saved and they won't be cooked for dinner. But but that is not necessarily the analogy that a lot of people actually practice where we are. As migrants, people like yourself, myself, we've been here for a while, right? Yes, we've gone through the challenges, but do we need all the migrants to come through to actually have exactly the same challenge, or can we make life a little bit easier for them? So I think for us, I think we almost have like a duty of care and a responsibility to help the next generation that's coming through to Australia and put a helping hand. And if there's ways to actually expand your network and connect people with others that might be useful for them, or give them a go. Like if we are not giving them a go, how can we expect the wider Australia to actually give them a go? So
Fantastic. That's insightful. Great. Anything you hate about Australia?
no, I actually don't. I am
You
so
don't? Oh,
grateful
wow.
and thankful that we live in
Great,
this country.
great,
Very, very
great.
grateful.
All right, last question. Does money buy happiness?
Does money buy happiness? Money buys choices, is what I would
Hmm,
say. Money buys choices. Everyone's got a slightly definition of what success actually means, right? When you say,
hmm,
does money
hmm.
buy happiness, you're almost asking me, what do I define by success in my life? That's how
Correct.
I understand that question
See,
anyway.
no, no. That okay. I'll revise the question. My question intention is that let's say if you have a lot of money, are you happy just by having money?
Not just by having money, But I think the answer, the question is no. It's not just by having money, but I want money because money is. You see, the way I look at money is that money gives you freedom of choice.
Right.
People look at money and go, "Oh my God, that's greed." Like if you have so much money, that's really greedy. No, it's not greedy. It means I've got choice, right? My mentor says this to me because you want to go out there and save the world. How do you do it when your cup's empty? You can only give when your cup is full, right?
Cool.
The
Yeah.
more you have, the more you can give. This is my philosophy. The reason why
Yeah.
financial freedom is so important for me is because it buys me back time. So happiness for me is having time, but time is
Correct.
associated to actually having money
Too
so
money.
that I actually have time. And if I have
Correct.
time, then I get to do all the things that actually make me happy. I'm not saying that I don't do things that don't make me happy right now because it's a journey of what I'm actually going through, but I'm definitely on track on making it happen.
Great. Great. Absolutely. Amazing. Amazing answer. I'm so impressed.
Well, I'm
Thank you
glad to
for
have
that.
impressed you, Krunal. That wasn't the plan, but
No, no,
okay,
no.
we'll go with
It's
that.
impressive. So see, it's value you give. You know, this is something so somebody to understand. Okay, money is okay. Secondary, first, primary is the time, but to have the time, money is important. So yes, it is. It is a valuable, very, very important and excellent
Resource.
advice. That's takeaway for me personally. For me,
Thank you,
thank you
Krunal.
for that.
All good.
All right. So, all good. Thank you so much for joining. I will conclude the podcast from my end. And I can't thank you enough for these valuable advices and whatever you've given, your guidance, your mentorship. And yes, definitely people will join you, we hope. And this podcast will be, I would say that one of my best podcasts. So
Oh,
thank you
thank
for
you so
joining.
much, Krunal. Thank you for giving me the opportunity and time to share my story with you and your audience as well. And I really hope that they get something out of it.
Thank you so much, Teeshal. Thanks for joining and appreciate your time and valuable time, I would say. And in future, whenever you have a chance, please get in touch with us. We're always happy. Link is with you. You can anytime book it in, and we can talk.
Sounds great, Krunal. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.